thanks everyone for having us. My name's Vicki Curry. It says here there I'm co-head of workforce development programs here, which I am, but I'm here today really with my other hat on, where for many years I've worked in an NHS CAMHS service, Islington, as a clinical psychologist and CBT therapist, and I manage different bits of service. At the moment, I'm one of the managers of the CAMHS therapies team, and I'm also professional lead for CBT. So the reason we're here really is because one of the things that I do is we coordinate professional discipline meeting for CBT and other therapists, which Andrew and Ellie come along to as child wellbeing practitioners. And they came to one of their meetings having done this training and just talked about some of the take-home messages for them and shared some of the ideas for what they'd done in the child wellbeing team, which to us sounded absolutely fantastic. And so we kind of took those and learnt from them and have started thinking about what we're going to do in other teams and other bits of our CAMHS service. It's a really big service. There's about 150 staff, not all full-time, part-time, full-time, but we have a kind of core bit of the service, but we also outreach into schools. Every school in Islington has a CAMHS clinician. We outreach into local authority, community services. So we kind of across lots of different bits of Islington. So hearing some of the things that these guys have been doing is really exciting in terms, I think, of the reach that we might have and how this kind of stuff might be shared across Islington. So I'm going to hand over. It's very early days for us, I'd say. We've got some more staff coming on the training this year, which is really exciting, and we'll continue to build. But I'm going to let Ellie and Andrew talk about some of the things that they've already done. Thanks,
Vicki. So it was, Ellie and I both felt that going on the NATP training back in December was really valuable, and the 4 days of training gave us really incredible and valuable insights. And there's so much that we could talk about, but we wanted to focus on some specific parts of the learning that have informed our clinical practice and also have informed the adaptations that we're making as a team to better support young autistic people and families that use our service. So kind of looking at experience-sensitive approach and neuroaffirming narratives. So we focused on allowing the young people that we work with to guide and co-produce the manualized intervention that we use. And throughout the intervention, we use creative and personalized tools to find out what works for the young people. In terms of accommodating sensory needs and preferences in our clinical practice, we're focusing on better understanding and accommodating those sensory and communication needs, but later on in one of the slides we'll explore that a bit further. And one of the things we found really helpful was kind of destigmatizing language. So the training also highlighted to us the importance of the language that we use, and as a team we've adopted identity first language, and also when reviewing our kind of manuals we've looked at the language in that and removed unhelpful or stigmatizing language. And we also always check the language that we're using with the young people and discuss their preferences to make sure that their preferences are understood and honoured as well within the work we do with them.
Great. So after feeding back to our team and reflecting on the training, we started to make those kind of practical adaptations and changes as children's wellbeing practitioners. So we've got a few examples on the screen there. So a key example was creating a visual appointment letter, which we send to all young people before their appointment, which ultimately breaks down kind of key information into smaller chunks. And we introduce the practitioner that the young person will be working with. So we've got a photograph of the practitioner and their name, and then we provide kind of further information such as the kind of date and time, the location with kind of photos and visuals, and then information about the location where the young person needs to be when they arrive and what to do there. And then we've also created a more kind of in-depth kind of attachment. So we've got photos and we've got basically a step-by-step process of kind of arriving at the building to the point of going into the session room. So we're really hoping that these tools will support the autistic young people that we're working with to know what to expect from the appointment. And I think the NATP training was really beneficial in kind of enhancing our understanding of what information is really valuable and kind of can be helpful to support autistic young people in attending and hopefully engaging in our clinical sessions.
Kind of on the next slide here is about sensory profile and communication preferences. So further accommodations we're making as a team is to explore young people's sensory preferences before they arrive at their first appointment. So originally, the one on the left was going to be done during the first appointment. However, following the training and discussing with the team, we agreed that it would be helpful to send this out prior to the session so that we can provide environmental information and make changes if required before the young person arrives to their assessment session. So hopefully we've attached this document to our appointment letter for the young person to fill out and explore the sensory preferences, and therefore it also gives us the opportunity to make accommodations in advance and also to let the young person know in advance about any adaptations that we cannot make and prepare them for the environment that they'll be in. The second sheet on the slide there on the right is about communication preferences. So we know that every young person learns and communicates differently, and I guess the NATP training highlighted this further for us about the communication differences that might exist for autistic young people and the importance to kind of explore them in our initial assessment sessions. So that screenshot is an example of an activity that we now do with all young adolescents that come to the CWP team, where the practitioner will explore the learning and communication preferences with the young person so that we can make adaptations to how we deliver the material from our manualized approach to best meet their needs.
And then we wanted to just share some further kind of additional adaptations we're making in our team and then as Islington CAMHS service as a whole. So Andrew's kind of briefly mentioned this, but as CWPs, we use kind of manualized interventions when working with young people. So we have adapted these for autistic clients, and in the CWP team, we have adapted an adolescent anxiety manual. So we're making this kind of more flexible, and we have a focus on what autism means to the young person and involving kind of neuroaffirming theories such as monotropism, alexithymia, and really having an emphasis on adapting the sensory environment to provide support. We also work really closely with the schools team in Islington CAMHS, so they're also adapting the child anxiety manual and similarly kind of making those adaptations. We have created a box with a range of sensory toys for our face-to-face sessions that young people can access within our therapeutic sessions. And we're also now using adapted routine outcome measures to support with measuring progress. We've also really increased our involvement with schools, such as having kind of regular team around the child meetings with families and school staff. So we're really ensuring that autistic young people are being supported in all of the environments that they're in. And then following the training, we also cascaded information to other teams. So as Vicki mentioned, other teams can then also kind of make their own accommodations and changes. So in the CAMHS therapies team, who they're also now adapting a visual appointment letter, and they're exploring sensory preferences of all young people when families complete an initial welcome call into the service. So that's now something that's being explored kind of service-wide. And the team also recently ran their first anxiety group intervention for autistic adolescents. And practitioners sent a visual letter to clients before the first session, and the teams received really positive feedback about this. So families were saying how beneficial the letter was to kind of prepare autistic young people that attended, and that some parents actually fed back that some adolescents were unlikely to attend without that letter. So I think that was really lovely to see some of the kind of feedback in terms of engagement. So yeah, overall, I think there have been lots of changes made kind of within our CAMHS service and our team to better support the neurodivergent families we work with. And in terms of kind of next steps, I think we're aiming to have more of a focus on co-production and working with autistic young people and families in our service to gather feedback. So seeing what adaptations are working well, what could be changed, and really getting kind of the young people's voice and thinking about what else could be done in the future to provide further support for